Today, I would like to talk about architecture, which is not to create. So this is the message to you, and I'm hoping that I want to send this message to the world. So, what sort of image do you have when it comes to architect? Generally speaking, these are the images people would have. Barcelona, Sagrada Familia architect, Mr. Gaudi, and also Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building. So Mr. Kenzo Tange, he is the Japanese famous architect. And on the right bottom, Mr. Tadao Ando. In this neighborhood, there is prefectural museum. So, you would picture the famous, distinguished, creative architect. I think that's the general image people would have. And I myself, well, as introduced, well, I've been active in this industry since I was young, and I had lots of ideas to build this and create this, and that was when I was very young. I wanted to show my unique creativities, and I was sure that I could attain the wishes of the users. And there is this conflict. That was my major issue that I had. I needed to solve this conflict between the uniqueness and the creativity of the architect and the user's wishes. So, the architecture should be without the conflict. The result is the sympathy or collaboration. So, originally, architecture is from the eyes and hands. As you see in this picture, the element of architecture is coming from the purpose and the measures, and these two need to be linked. And the purpose, the eyes, are more important than the measures. Sometimes people would mark the target with their eyes and aim for it immediately. However, with the architecture, well, with the man and woman and relationship, you can just go for it, go for the target. But when it comes to the architecture, it has to be used for years so that the architectural value will be appreciated. You can't just jump on it. Which means the purpose of that building needs to be enhanced. The purpose is something soft. It's not physical things. First, you have to clarify the purpose, and then you use your hand. You use your measures and complete the design of the architecture. So 90% of the work is coming from this purpose, the eyes. And to enhance the purpose, the deep collaboration and the dialogue is necessary. This is designing an architecture. This is what I learned. I take it for granted the architecture should be like this, but maybe this is not yet widespread. But from 40 years ago, I've been embracing this value. The people's wish should be materialized in the form of folk architecture. We are not famous architects. The user's wish needs to be achieved. And then this folk architecture spirit is important. So Mr. K called me. He wanted to build a house in Hokusetsu. Mr. Ban, I found a good land in Awaji. I thought that it is located in Kyoto. I didn't even imagine that would be the Awaji Island. So I was very surprised. But when I started to work on this house, well, there is nice land. And then he talked to his wife about this land in Awaji Island, and the wife wouldn't even want to discuss that. So that's the husband and wife relationship of my customer. And first time when I went there by car, in the car, Mr. K, the husband, was driving. I was on the passenger seat, and the wife was behind the seat. And to deepen the dialogue, I have to have a conversation with her. And I asked her, is it okay for you to have a house in Awaji Island? And the lady said, okay, yes. I'm looking forward to this house. She said, she's totally different from my wife. Very nice. But I felt that she must be a little bit lying. She sounded depressed. On the passenger seat, I thought, and the husband was very sure about that, and we saw the result later on. From Tomogashima Island to Akashi Ohashi Island, there is this beautiful land with great view. And then if you build a house on this beautiful land, of course, you want to have a house with a great view. But the husband was feeling being in a big trouble because the husband would work in Osaka and then spend his weekend in Awaji Island, go fishing. And then the wife would spend every day on this island, wait for the husband. And the husband proposed this immense, wonderful kitchen. So, TV and in this living room, well, there is a great view of Akashi Pearl Bridge. So you can see a very good structure from this picture. On the right-hand side, there's a kitchen. And the kitchen is positioned 40 to 50 centimeters higher from the living room floor. And the wife would work in the kitchen. Then she has a clear view of Osaka Bay and Akashi water. So this is thanks to the husband's idea. From my idea, common sense, we wouldn't come up with this idea. We would think of barrier-free. We have our own stereotype. And this is the husband's idea because the husband knows his wife. He's proposed, Mr. Ban, we should place the kitchen a higher location than the living room. So this became true. But with the architecture, not only the view that is important. On the south side of this house, there are other houses. And on the right-hand side on top, there is small windows, and we can have a sunlight coming in from the south. The purpose of the architect can be enhanced by the dialogue with the family members that is translated to the designing of this house. And the house in the Awaji Island is leaning towards environment. That's the feature. As you see in this diagram, the relationship of the inside and outside needs to be taken. The vertical line is to establish the environment and the relationships. So we need to block the coldness of the north side and then have a good view of the north side. control means regulate so that we can have the comfortableness. On the left-hand side, there are huge windows, and they are big in size. However, they are low, and we try to block the coldness coming in. If there are too many windows, the architecture becomes weakened, and then we put the pillars to an angle. By doing so, well, we did the calculation and reinforce the structure, and we have the good functionality, and this house was built. Well, this is the example of a nursery school. So there are about 5 nurses, and we had a discussion. And I thought all the briefings finished, and then we were having tea. And one lady said, well, sometimes, there are certain difficulties in the nursery school. And as you see in this picture, so this is the event room where people enjoy eating and playing. And then the area, the floor area is determined by the number of the children. And when they have Parents' Day, well, actually 3 times more of the number of the children, maybe 6 times members. For example, well, up to 6 family members per child would come. The father, mother, grandparents, brothers and sisters would come to the event. So up to 6 family members show up. So this room would become so many people. So that's what one of the ladies said to me. On the other hand, well, we need to take a balance between the community. Well, on the left, there is an apartment building, and on the right, there is the 2-story houses. And if there's some noise coming out of the nursery school, that will become a problem. So on the both sides of the garden, well, there are walls, and then in the center, there is the event room. So we want to take advantage of this environment and then link all the elements to solve the issues. So from the hall on the right-hand side, so the tent or the roof is extending with the winch. And then this is the movable roof. And when it is extended fully, this roof can cover half the garden. And this can prevent the rain coming down. So all the visitors, all the family members who come to the event, and they are in the garden and still enjoy the performance that is held in this event hall. And children can enjoy the garden even on a rainy weather. So we capture this purpose of building this while having tea. So dialogue. With that, we want to really enhance the purpose of architecture. Well, Mr. K and his wife, their relationship, and my marriage relationship is totally different. It is important to have dialogue. And even in this nursery school, in the dialogue, we just happened to find out this issue. So this is a good example of how dialogue becomes important in the architecture. So inside and outside of architecture, well, it's quite difficult to explain, but it's almost like a friendship. The horizontal line, well, we want to extend me, what I want. And looking at my colleagues and family members, and we need to compromise between what you want and what others want. So we need to compromise and strike the balance. And it goes vice versa. Other people would say he, she only cares about themselves, herself. So architecture, it's the same. There has to be a good balance between inside and outside. And there is a folk architecture in the shared accommodation as well. So this is an architecture to create from the beginning, and we are supporting this. In this neighborhood, well, there are two persons, A and B. They live in a door-to-door distance, and then they never knew each other, but they started to have conversation, and then 23 of them, including A and B, decided to create an apartment together. So their wishes, their financial situation and family structure, all different. But they get together to create one apartment. And Ms. Fushimi talked about something beautiful, it's powerful, and I liked her message. Well, if we build where people can comfortably live, then for 10 years, for 20 years, this space would be passed down to generations. So this picture was taken about 10 years ago. So in the garden between the buildings, all these people came to know each other and get together and having this celebration event. So this is the gathering room, and the design is very interesting. After we built the framework of the building, then they thought of what to put inside. So after they start living in this building, they come up with these ideas of a pottery thing, and then a tea ceremony event, and there was a turning point, year 2000. All the buildings are seen here and there. Even in Asia, we see there are empty lots. And we are proposing this architecture that is not to create. So this is the model. So in this land, there are two storage houses and then huge 3 trees, and we would use them. And we would like to build 3 houses. So this luxury can be materialized because this is architecture is not to create. We are taking advantage of what is already there. And we will not build something high story. We will build low story. Now we have come to the era of folk architecture. And together with young people, I am promoting folk architecture. And my strongest message that I wanted to send is that what's more important is that architecture should not try to create or build. By having the straightforward dialogue with the users, the architecture is born from that dialogue. So this is the message I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much for your kind attention.